Nice to see all of you, and I'm very happy that you are committed to your own transformation of awareness. It's really a big order, and I totally respect you for putting your life into that. Now, I said that I was going to say a little bit about system dynamic and chaos theory. I mean, that sounds like a theoretical topic, but I want to say a little bit about it in relation to the transformation process that we are going through as people doing this kind of practice. When I was a consultant in industry, of course, there was talk of system dynamic as a way of explaining how organizations could transform themselves from within. And this was basically taken from a much more sophisticated computer system and mathematical system that was used, to analyze very, very complicated systems. But the fundamental ideas are, I think, applicable to the kind of transformation that we go through. And as we observe people around us and as we observe ourselves, one of the things that are said in system dynamic chaos theory is that, when a system is in equilibrium, then it seeks to maintain itself as before and repeat all patterns. Now, isn't that an interesting statement, as far as looking at complicated organizations, organized systems? And I would say each one of us is a system. And have you noticed that, as people show themselves who they are, very often people are kind of stuck in wanting to maintain the same equilibrium. They want to maintain the same patterns that they are comfortable with. And the chaos theory says that in order for any organization, to really transform itself from within, it needs to go into a chaos phase, meaning that it loses its equilibrium. And in a way, when we look at the world today, it looks like the whole world is going into a chaos phase. Hopefully something good will come out of that. But in individual people's cases, including ourselves, when we look at ourselves, how strong these patterns that want to maintain the system that we are, what we are familiar with. And chaos theory says, and you've all experienced this because, you've been mentioning that it seems overwhelming, you feel sometimes imbalanced, you feel various discomforts as you go through the transformation process. And this is natural and good. You have to go through that. Otherwise, this transformation from within your depth will not be able to happen. And, it is true that new patterns tend to be threatening. So that's why we are consciously taking on these new patterns of practicing, of opening our heart, of consciously relating within ourselves. I think it is interesting that, by making this transformation happen, going to a new level of awareness, we have to accept that we're going to be uncomfortable. We are going to have to accept that we have to have what this chaos theory called leverage points. Some leverage points can basically cause a transformation to happen. You can think of your heart opening. That's a leverage point. If your heart opens and other chakras open, then your whole organism can change from within to reach a higher level of awareness. So there's a parallel here, between what was talked about in organization theory. There's one book called The Unshackled Organization by a man named Jeffrey Goldstein. It's a little bit old now, but I looked a lot at it during the time that I was consultant. But thinking again about these particular ideas relating to chaos theory is very applicable to the process that we are going through. And it says very clearly that the system has to be challenged. And that's why we emphasize self-discipline and having a contact with a living lineage. We are here to challenge you, basically. Nothing else. But in a deeper, nicer sense, we are here to invite you into that deep transformation. If nothing challenges you, and of course your own day-to-day experience and meeting your living challenges will either make you overwhelmed and make you stop, or it will motivate you to go more deeply within yourself. And what I see of all of you, is that you are allowing that whatever challenge you're meeting to drive you more deeply into your core, where the creativity is and needs to be awakened so that the system can transform itself. I think it also very much encourages what we are doing, because if we think of, our town that we live in, country that we live in, the whole planet, whatever level you are relating to, any kind of transformation, each one of us individually and as a community we can bring about will have an effect on the whole. And this is the highest form of service that we can do to our surroundings, to the planet, to the whole community. So we're not just working for ourselves by any means. We are working for the system on many, many, many levels, all the way up to the all-inclusive Akashic field. We have some influence by what state we reach for in ourselves. Equilibrium means being in is a slightly different word for balance. I don't know what the equivalent Norwegian word would be exactly, but it's basically balance, So it says that when a system, which, you are a system, I'm a system, we are a system together in a group, the town is a system, blah, blah, all kinds of levels of systems. But as an individual, you, as you have experienced, I know, because you've been talking with me about it, is when you feel overwhelmed and you feel imbalanced, then you are in a state of non-equilibrium, which what I've been talking about says is a good thing. If you want to change, you have to accept that you have to go through a chaos a little bit, It's not pleasant. Nobody's telling you it's a lot of fun or pleasant. But if you can tolerate that state and keep investing in what we call leverage points in this way of thinking, leverage points being your practice, opening your heart, feeding your inner system, your core, then your system will automatically spark a creative change. And you've already experienced that, and you'll experience it again and again. There are endless levels of that. And every time you go from one level to the next, you have to go through this chaos phase, a little bit at least, you know. So what I'm trying to bring out is that don't be concerned, don't be overwhelmed by the chaos phase, because without it, you will be just reinforcing the patterns that you already have, and those patterns are no longer useful, right? Think of the patterns that have gotten to where you are now. They were fine, you know, they were useful then, perhaps, and you needed to do what you did, but you know, now you need different patterns, finer patterns, healthier patterns, patterns that can transform you onward and upward, freeing you and having you experience more and more of the creativity and joy at the core of you.